Hey there, will you look at that? So good to see you back. Thank you so much for clicking, and don't be a muppet and subscribe. Alright, today we've got a lot to talk about. We're talking about Tolkien. There is the man. So J.R.R. Tolkien on how World War I inspired the Lord of the Rings BBC Global. Now this, you might think this is about history, it's not. So what we're going to do, as you know, recently I've been posting a few videos where we were analyzing people's accents depending on when they were from and all that kind of stuff, but today it's going to be a little different. So this was recorded in the 60s. I'm not interested necessarily in the accent, but I will do a full-on speech pattern analysis of Mr. Tolkien. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
If you really come down to any large story that interests people, can hold them attention for a considerable time, or make stories practically always, human stories practically always about one thing, aren't they? Death. The inevitability of death. I don't know, would you agree with that? But anyway, that is what, there was a quotation from Simon Beauvoir that I read in the paper the other day, which seems to me put it in a nutshell. I think I'll read it.
Fascinating. I'm letting him speak.
It was apropos of the untimely death of a musical composer whom I've myself always been extremely fond, Carl Maria Weber, who died at 39 of tuberculosis. And the man who written his biography actually quotes these words of Simon. There is no...
Okay, so already there is a lot to say. I did the first minutes sort of interrupted. Let's now rewind back, and let's examine everything, because I'm already fascinated by his speech patterns. Did you notice the extreme speed at which he speaks? Well, there is an explanation for it, so let's go.
If you really come down to any large story that interests people, can hold them attention for a considerable time, or make...
It's very interesting. People hold him attention for a considerable amount of time. So you notice how he's very fast and mumbles quite a bit. And it's one of those scenarios where he's probably subconsciously trying to avoid pauses.
Stories, practically always, human stories, practically always about one thing, aren't they? Death. The inevitability of death.
Inevitability of death. All right, so now in order to provide a bit of a deeper analysis, I might need to continue watching and listening for a little longer, but already a little bit of a preliminary assessment. I would say that we are in the presence of ERS. Now, this in itself is not a form of disorder, but cluttering is, and I think we also are in the presence of cluttering. So it's both things. I'll tell you exactly what these are, but there are several possible underlying reasons as to why he speaks so fast and also tends to merge words together in combination with lack of pauses, and sometimes the presence of pauses in moments where, generally speaking, the average speaker won't place them. Sometimes this has to do with nervousness or anxiety. I mean, it could be he's in front of a camera, but he doesn't look nervous to me. Sometimes it's lack of confidence, but definitely not the case with his takes. Racing thoughts is one of the reasons that could be behind extreme speech patterns, and I think this could be a thing. It's something that happens with some people who have a very fast mind, and so it's as if their ability to speak struggles when it comes to catching up with how fast their thoughts are produced in their mind. And then there is another thing that is called subconscious rushing. We'll address that, but let's continue listening, and then I'll go deeper into this.
I don't know, would you agree with that? But anyway, that is what, there was a quotation from Simon Beauvoir that I read in the paper the other day, which seems to me put it...
Even the fact that he fills some of the silent moments with is also connected to these patterns that I was mentioning.
In a nutshell, I think I'll read it. It was apropos of the untimely death of a musical composer whom I've myself always been extremely...
Wow, of a musical composer who I've myself always been extremely... It's so fast.
Fond, Carl Maria Weber, who died at 39 of tuberculosis. And the man who written his...
Even that little short sentence, and the man who's written his
biography actually quotes these words of Simon. There is no such thing as a natural death. Nothing that happens to man is ever natural.
When he reads, it doesn't have that. Did you notice that he was reading now, and all of a sudden, his speech pattern has slowed down and has become natural? How do we explain that? Well, because he's not using his own mind to create those words. Now he's reading someone else's words. Therefore, the cognitive area in the mind that is used, in this case, is constantly rushing, is on pause. And that's why the speech became natural.
His biography actually quotes these words of Simon. There is no such thing as a natural death. Nothing that happens to man is ever natural.
Nothing that ever happens to man is ever natural. It's staggering. The difference is tremendous.
Not fully understand the difference between an allegory.
He already switched back into using his own mind. Did you see that? It was so clear that now you can't unsee it. If you hadn't noticed that in the first time we watched, and you hadn't noticed that monumental difference between when he reads and when he speaks freely, well, here you have it.
And an application. You can go to a Shakespeare play and you can apply it to things in your mind if you like, but they're not allegories. At least most of them are not. There's more allegorical elements, for instance, in the...
I'm having trouble understanding him, and I'm fluent in English. I mean, English is my second language. I'm not native. So maybe if you're native and you understand him regardless of the mumbling and the extreme speech pattern, then do let me know in the comments. Or if you're struggling like me and you have to rewind a little bit, then once again, I will be fascinated to receive that data from you.
You can go to a Shakespeare play and you can apply it to things in your mind if you like, but they're not allegories. At least most of them are not. There's more allegorical elements, for instance, in the Tempest than in most, but...
Okay, now I got it, but then again, I'm reading the subtitles. Without subtitles, I think I would have had to rewind once again just to catch two words that I had trouble fully understanding because of the lack of enunciation.
But certainly, I mean, many people apply to nuclear, the ring, particularly the nuclear bomb, don't they? I think that was in my mind, is that the whole thing is only an allegory of it. Well, it isn't. I first began seriously to invent languages about when I was 13 or 14. I've never stopped, really.
I sympathize with that, actually. When I was 14, precisely, I was trying to invent my own language, so that did happen, interestingly enough.